Chairman, Ms. Leonhart, I'm new to the committee, so I'm going to ask you questions that I'm just curious as to the answer because I'm very confused. You've said some things today that I think strike me as being unusual. They may be true, and I'm certain if anybody back home was watching it, they don't understand it either. You say you can't fire people. Why can't you fire people? Everybody else could be fired. Why can't you fire people that work for you?
Under the civil service laws, I can't intervene in the disciplinary process, and that's why DEA's process, similar to some of the other agencies, is a three-tiered process. The administrator, the deputy administrator, management cannot intervene in the disciplinary process, or that's a prohibited personnel practice.
Who can fire people when they commit misconduct, egregious misconduct, like participating in cartel-funded prostitution?
Our deciding officials.
Who in your agency, who is a deciding official?
We have two deciding officials. They're senior DEA 1811s with prior OPR experience. They make all of the disciplinary decisions for the agency.
Are they senior to you or junior to you?
They're junior to me.
Could you recommend that they fire somebody? So you're saying you can't fire somebody, but somebody junior to you can fire somebody. Is that what you're telling us?
My position as administrator, under the Civil Service Act, we have to follow certain civil service protections. And so our system is set up that the discipline is decided by these two senior people within DEA, deciding officials who have
senior people, but not senior to you. But I get that. Then so okay, let's say that you wanted to fire these people. Let's say you saw some activity that merited somebody getting fired. Did you ever? By the way, have you ever seen that since you've worked there? Does any of this conduct that we've talked about today in these couple dozen sex parties, in your mind, merit dismissal?
The activity that's been explained today, I believe, not knowing all the facts, not knowing...
How could you possibly... I can't let you off the hook like that, Ms. Leonhart. How do you not possibly know all the facts by now?
Not knowing the same facts that the deciding officials look at, which are called the Douglas factors. So not knowing that piece, only knowing what the behavior was and what the investigations show. I took action last year to put the agency on notice that activity like that, and I named it prostitution and named 4 or 5 other things, required significant discipline. And that put our deciding officials and our board of conduct on notice.
Do you have any idea how absurd all of that sounds to an ordinary human being?
I can see someone not knowing the civil service system and not understanding our system would think that.
All right, let's assume, because I think I just asked you if you saw anything that merited somebody being dismissed, and you didn't say yes, which I assume means you meant no. But let's assume, for sake of this discussion, you saw something that merited dismissal. What would you do?
I can't intervene in the process the way the law is set up.
How do you start the process?
What I can do is put the agency on notice, like I did last year, that this will not be tolerated, and that I, in writing, told the deciding officials and the board of conduct that these kinds of behaviors required significant discipline.
Mr. Horowitz, Mr. Perkins, is it like this at the other agencies? Does everybody deal with these arcane rules at other agencies?
Congressman, I can't speak for the other agencies, but for the FBI, we are exempt from Title V and civil service rules, regulations, and statutes. Director Comey can and has summarily fired individuals. We do have a highly structured disciplinary process within the Bureau that will, as you go through the process, it raises it up to the appropriate levels for the appropriate level of punishment. There are occasions when the conduct is so egregious that the director can intercede and summarily dismiss somebody, and has.
Mr. Horowitz?
My understanding is that the FBI is unique in that regard, as Mr. Perkins outlined, and that the other 3 law enforcement components in the department have to follow the Title V rules and the civil service rules.
One last question, Ms. Leonhart, then I'll wrap up. Is it true, Ms. Leonhart, that if you suggest a suspension longer than 14 days, and in all the examples that I've got the paperwork on these couple dozen events, no one was ever suspended for more than 14 days. Is it true that if you recommend, or if someone gets a suspension of more than 14 days, that a Merit System Protection Board takes over the investigation and the handling of that matter?
Not quite. If the deciding officials dole out discipline and it's more than 14 days suspension, the employee can appeal it. And when the employee appeals it, it goes to the Merit System Protection Board.
And who takes over the investigation of the matter when the Merit System Protection Board gets involved?
No one takes over the investigation because the investigation has already been done. This is at the very end of the disciplinary process. So the DEA deciding official can say 30 days.
But is that internal to you or is it external to you?
The deciding officials is internal. The MSPB is external.
Thank the gentleman.
I thank the chairman, and I asked both the chairman and the ranking member to, this is nuts. How we can't fix this, I have no idea, but clearly she's telling us she doesn't have the legal authority to do what everybody on this committee thinks that she should have done. Maybe we should try and figure out a way to fix that.
Now I recognize the gentleman.